Let's get an update now from eSwatini, which has been affected by mass pro-democracy protests in recent weeks. Civil society, political and other groups have come together to form the Multi-Stakeholders Group. They've written to the SADC regional bloc demanding to be included in dialogue aimed at finding a lasting solution to the decades-long crisis there. Well, let's speak to Mlungisi Makhanya, who is the leader of the People's United Democratic Movement, that's Pudemo, one of the banned political parties in the country. Mlungisi, good afternoon and thanks so much for your time. Now, we know that there's a bit of an uneasy calm in eSwatini at the moment, but this comes after weeks of violence, the violence continuing, going on for a while. Now, you as Pudemo say that you want to intensify your protest action. Is this actually getting you anywhere for what you actually want to achieve here?
Good afternoon, Vivek, and good afternoon to the eNCA listeners and viewers. We want to first thank you for affording us the opportunity. We are convinced that indeed we are getting somewhere. We have resolved, after giving an opportunity to the SADC Troika to come and drive some sense into this murderous government of King Mswati. But after King Mswati decided to show Troika the middle finger, we have resolved that we are going back to the street. Starting from next week, we are busy with our mobilization. We are taking back to the streets with our protest, more intensified, more resolute. We are using this weekend to bury some of those comrades who passed away during the violence. And after the burials tomorrow, come Monday, we are back on the streets, but the intensification will be built up for a mother of all marches on Friday in the city of Manzini.
So I do have in front of me a list of demands, agreed common demands here of the broader civil society and political parties here. And among them, of course, the total unbanning of political parties. That's one of them, putting in place of a transitional authority to oversee government and reform of institutions. Also, a future governance framework based on multi-party political dispensation where political parties can contest power in a free, fair and credible election. Just tell us more about what kind of political system are you actually looking for here? Would it completely exclude the monarchy? Would it give it some say, or would you just have the monarchy there as window dressing?
Well, the system that we are looking at and our future is a system that includes multi-party dispensation where political parties and individual candidates will be allowed to contest. But when it comes to the role of the king, our position has always been clear that the role and the extent of influence that the king will have will be determined by Swazis themselves. I must say that before this massacre, amongst the common demands that were raised was a monarch within a constitutional multi-party dispensation. But after this massacre, and judging by the mood on the ground of our people, it appears that it will be very difficult for them to persuade Swazi people to still retain a monarchy who has proven to have no interest of Swazis by unleashing the most despicable violence. The violence and killings that we have witnessed in the past few weeks is something that we have never experienced in the history of the Swazi nation state.
And we do understand, yes, and just looking at, what are the hardships of the people of eSwatini, then you see. But I just want to know, we learn from our neighbors Zimbabwe as well. Often we think things are going to get better, but it seems that things have stayed the same, if not gotten worse, sort of from the frying pan into the fire sort of situation. What would you say if you were allowed to hold elections, to contest elections as political parties? What would you say to the people of eSwatini to say, we can make your life better? How would you make their lives better? Where would you begin?
Well, the first starting point will be making sure that what currently resides within the federal of the king in terms of the sovereign wealth fund, which is basically TBO, and all other funds that needs to be paid to government but that are currently paid to the king, purportedly held in trust of the Swazi nation, would have to come back to the control of the state. Because those resources, those billions that lie there, is the resources that we will need to re-energize our economy as things stand in Swaziland, the Swazis are poor not because we don't have sufficient economic base. We are poor because most of the resources that are supposed to be going to the state are going to the king. Remember, we're talking about an individual here who doesn't pay tax. So if you have someone who does not pay tax, who does not contribute anything to the fiscus, who controls as much wealth as the king controls, purportedly on behalf of the nation, there is absolutely no way you can improve the lives of the people without making sure that you take back those national wealth funds from the control of the individual to the control of the state.
All right.
And by extension, the people as a whole.